Hi there. My name is Bart Weiss. I am the founder and director of the Dallas Video Festival, which will have our 28th festival, October 12th through the 18th at various places in Dallas. And this year, we're doing these Google on-air Hangouts so that the audience, you guys out there, can get to know the filmmakers, because one of the big problems with any festival is there's so much going on. What can I possibly see? And I think if you get to know the filmmakers and hear them talk about their films and what they love about their films, and somebody just turned on the printer there, so ignore that sound, that you'll come out and see the work. I think of this as having a Q&A before you've seen the film. So today's film, we have a film called The Winds That Scatter, and it's a very different kind of a film. It's a very, very beautiful film, and it's a really, really timely film. I mean, I think it's a film that is really kind of important for where we are at the moment. Chris, come here, say hi. Wait a minute, hold on, let me cut to you here. I've got the little switcher there. Okay. So, Chris, so tell me about the film and why you started to get interested in this subject. How did this come to you?
So originally, when I was gonna do, I graduated from film school, and I was like, I need to do a feature. It's been too long.
Where did you go to film school?
Long Island University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I knew that I had to do something really small, and I wanted to do something like slow and moody and atmospheric. But there's a lot of people doing films that like starred themselves and their friends, like just white guys talking in apartments, and I was like, well, I don't want to do that. So I had this idea.
Not that there's anything wrong with white guys sitting in their apartments talking.
Which, yeah, totally, yeah, we wouldn't be here. But something different I wanted to do. So I had this idea for a gas station attendant, and there was a guy in my town that I really liked, and I wasn't brave enough to ask him if he wanted to be in a film, but I had the idea, so I just went up and down gas stations looking for a non-actor with a really strong presence who would want to do it. And then I found them. This guy was Egyptian, he was Muslim, and it had to do with we worked on the outline again together, and it had to do with a lot of things that I was thinking, post 9/11, how Arabs and Muslims are treated and stuff like that. He ended up leaving. This was the Arab Spring, so that factored into it too. And I ended up finding some Syrian guys. Like, it took me a long time, but I found them, and instead of Egypt, they were from Syria, so we started incorporating that. And yeah, that's how it happened. I just wanted to do something different. And, I have these things that I think are important that should be in film, like the depiction of, people of Arabic descent, people of Muslim faith, being portrayed as regular people. And that was an idea that I thought should be out there.
Very, very important. I mean, and of course, way more important than when you initially shot the film, given what's going on now. And especially not only in the crisis of all these refugees coming from Syria, but also in the way that, say, Donald Trump is depicting people who are not white. And I think that it's very important that what the film does more than anything is really gives you a sense of the humanity of people that are different from you are, and sort of try to get a sense of understanding them. But I also want to ask you, so as a white person like me, to attempt to do this, how did you sort of deal with trying to make sure that you're not totally doing this from the sort of white savior perspective about this? Because I think the film totally has this incredible authenticity, which I think also comes from its pace and its directing, but is a real challenge coming from somebody who is not Arabic.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and I'll answer your question, but for some people, it'll always be like, you know, I'm not of Arabic descent, I'm not Muslim, not Syrian, you know, all that stuff. And some people, you know, they will always have a problem with that, and that's fair enough. Like, but I did think it was important to kind of to make a film like that, and to try, because I think it's important to have, you know, different depictions of different people, like positive or regular normal depictions of people in front of the camera.
Yeah.
There's only so much I can do in terms of like, I am white, and you know, this isn't 100% my life in front of the camera, but it all comes from collaboration, like really collaborating and really like asking questions. And I did a lot of reading because for a long time there was, you know, still it's thinking of people from the Middle East as the other, like it's Orientalism. So I read a lot about Orientalism, and I tried to not, you know, generally my gut was away from Orientalism, but it stuff like that can take shape, and we just don't know. It's like, you know, the racist guy who thinks he isn't racist, but then does something like whatever. I guess they're called microaggressions or something. There's always stuff we're gonna do that, you know, we don't even recognize as being like bad. But you know, I tried my best. I tried to talk. I tried to listen. Tried to talk to people and listen to what they were saying, and stuff like that. So I can't say 100% that, you know, it's not like someone might not have issue with the depictions, and that's always going to happen. You know, I have to kind of let that go. But the way to do that is, you know, the best you can is collaboration, and listening, and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think it's very valuable and important thing to do. And this really comes from the heart. You can sort of see that. Um, you want to talk about the style? I think you said early on that you knew you wanted to do something that was kind of slow pace, and that was kind of the aesthetic you were going for. But how does that lend itself to this project? Because it works so beautifully here, and I think it's appropriate for the kind of material, and it forces us to watch the film differently than a typical Hollywood blockbuster would.
Mm. That's hard because it's so, like, the style is so ingrained within me. Like, I discovered you know, slow cinema and like one takes and stuff like that, that it's just like in me, and I don't know, like, I love it. So it didn't necessarily lend itself to the subject matter at hand. I felt like I was probably always going to do that because that's the kind of style I appreciate for many reasons. But in terms of like specifically to this subject, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if the subject matter lent anything to it as far as, like, you know, holding the camera on something.
For me, it sort of gives us a sense to observe him as he's going through things
Yeah.
without this overly sense of manipulation, and we feel his situation much more deeply because it's sort of like we're there with him in a different kind of way. I
Yeah.
think language makes that much more powerful. In a different kind of way, I don't think it would have the kind of impact that the film does.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, and I like the fact that like a long take can do so much. You know, part of it, like you said, is like it's very observational. You know,
Yeah.
you can live with the person, you can spend time with them, and you feel like, I don't know. I always feel like I have like a better connection to things when they're shot like that. And there's and in long takes too, like you feel more like there's always this weird tension. Um, and because the film also is dealing with things like what do we what do we think of people of Arabic descent, and you know, so on and so forth, like the slow cinema can often be boring, so it connects, it makes, has this disconnect where like you can be pulled out and then you can think about the ideas at hand. So I do think we connect to him, but for some people, slow cinema, they'll like, their mind will start wandering, which I like, and that's part of the way I view films too, because I'm not going to pretend like these films aren't boring, but I get a whole lot more out of them in that way. So that's why I like that
No,
aesthetic.
I wouldn't say boring, because it's like your brain just engages in different kinds of ways. I
Yeah.
mean, we are with the scene, we are there in that moment, but the pacing allows us to sort of think of how this relates to our own sense of prejudice, our own sense of the world, and things that we've also experienced. Whereas in a car chase, there's no room for you to bring that kind of thinking with you. So
Yeah.
it's not like you're saying like come to this movie and be bored. It's like
Yeah.
come to
Yeah.
this movie and be like totally engaged. And I think the engagement is deeper because of that.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
So Chris, I also want to talk to you um, about about writing about media. So how did you start writing, and what is the sort of difference in your life between when you're writing about media and then when you're creating media? And what do you think the role and the importance of writing about media is? That's an awful lot.
Yeah. I'll tackle it.
All right.
So I graduated from school and I was in a lot of debt, and then I was a security guard for 2 years. Um, and I felt very, very removed from film. And I thought like writing criticism would, get me back into that world, and it would help me improve my writing and my assessment of films, and all of this great stuff. And it did. So I did it for like I do it on and off still now, but I did it like a lot for 3.5 years, 4 years, something like that. And it's really important because it always kind of bugs me. I'm still in touch with like critics and stuff, but it always bugged me. No offense to them. I don't want to say what someone should or shouldn't do, but in terms of like what I think should be done, when you're writing criticism, you are assessing a movie, and essentially hopefully you like it and you're getting the word out, and you could really help these like small films get notice. But I see a lot of critics are just like, they want to talk about, I love Mad Max, but do we really need to hear like what you think of Mad Max when like there are other films that could really use this? So that's a really important part of it, a part of criticism that I think is underutilized, and I think we need to do more of that to help films find viewers. And it, like, whatever, it only helps you too, because if you help this small film, you're like, I love it, whatever, they give you a quote or something like that, someone Googles the film, your review is going to come up, your name's out there. It's kind of a win-win situation. And there's not enough of that, and that disappoints me, especially as someone who has made a small film. A lot of people have written great stuff about it, which is like really floored me. And it really helps me. It makes me happy. It makes me, because being a filmmaker can be very depressing. There's so much out there, and you're struggling to get it seen or talked about or something like that. So it really helps, and it's very beneficial to the movie. And I think it would be for the critic too.
So do you want to, it's like, we know sort of the process about making a film and the sort of what that goes through and what people do, or many people do, a lot of people have written about it. Talk about when you're like assigned or decide to write about a film, like what is the work that goes involved into that, and how do you do that and come to terms with that?
Yeah. The cool part is I like mainly wrote for the playlist on IndieWire, and I kind of got my pick of the litter because people and whatever, I'm not trying to like insult people now, but I was like the indie foreign documentary guy,
Uh-huh.
because people wanted to write about the bigger stuff, which was whatever, fair enough, they had me. um, and so I got to kind of choose, and then I was young when I did it, and like I didn't understand, but I remember my editor was like, look, if you don't like this indie, um, and we didn't ask you to review it, like you don't have to, like don't feel like you have to review this indie and like give it a D or something. And I really, I now I have this philosophy where it's like, if you didn't like this little movie, um, whatever, and you're not getting paid for it, just don't write about it. Like, it's so hurtful to the movie, and like, what does it do for you? Um, so, all right, back to the original question. Yeah, there was that. There was just like trying to find a movie and it's like, this might be interesting and stuff like that. So you watch it, you know, write notes, and then another thing that took me a little bit to learn is that you're assessing a movie not on your own prejudices, not on your own, not necessarily with your own taste too much, but you're taking it on its own terms. So it can't be like, man, I would have did this, so it's bad, which sounds dumb, but you see that a lot in criticism.
Well, and as somebody who's a director, you went to film school, of course, as you watch something, you say, well, if I was there, I would have done this, but that's not what they did, and that's not your job to say, like, you didn't do that. I mean, I do that when I'm teaching my students, but they can still change that.
Yeah.
This is not the sort of place in the forum for that.
Yeah. Well, it crops up in different ways that I can see in writing, where it's like, whatever, like structure rules and stuff like that. It's like, well, the third act does this, and I feel like a lot of times they're not assessing the film on its own terms, that maybe it was trying to do something different than the three-act structure, for example. Stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of times, like, and it's not easy to do. It's way easier to just be like, this is what the movie's about, this worked and didn't work. But actually taking it on its own terms is difficult, and it could take a long time for your brain to kind of comprehend that. It took me a long time to write reviews. You know, just like staring at a blank screen and stuff like that. So there was that kind of like trying to do that.
So do you want to talk a little bit about the editing process? Because typically, you know, when you have a lot of short pieces for a film, the editing is very complex, and there's so many different ways in which you can sort of work around them. But with films that are longer takes, there's still molding going on in post-production, but it's sort of a different kind of, you know, way of kind of working with post-production.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. And I'm working on another film, and I'm still doing the same thing, like still long takes. And you know, whatever, it'll really boost up the running time. And it's like, well, oh God, I can't do that, you know. And I start snipping, and then like I'll go through it like 3 times, and then I'll be like, no, like you have to take out actual chunks. Which is good, but it's, you know, it's always like, but I like the way they shot, what the shot did, and stuff like that. So, you know, you have to come to terms with, like, maybe this scene doesn't need 3 long shots, or maybe this scene that is 1 long shot has to go, or something like that. I don't know. It's still like you kind of have to figure out how it can ebb and flow in its own way. And they're all different pieces too.
Yeah. So where did this the influence of these, you know, long takes come from when you were in film school? What were the films that you really sort of championed and that sort of excited you?
My sophomore year, I'd watched Elephant in high school, and I liked it a lot, but I didn't, like, that was probably where it began. And then my sophomore year, my teacher showed us Darden Brothers stuff and Code Unknown. And I realized like how much I liked it and how much it spoke to me. And then another teacher lent me the Greek director Theodore Angelopoulos, and I was like, oh my God. And then Tarkovsky and then all this stuff. So then, you know, it was really starting to like take shape and mold, and I was just like digging for more stuff. And yeah, so the love affair started, I guess, in high school, technically in college, when I started to really like when I started to begin to understand films, because I didn't understand anything in high school, like most of us, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we understood things differently, or
yeah,
we thought we understood everything, but we were totally wrong.
True.
So along with that, this may be the same thing. Can you remember the moment when you were doing something else in your life and you saw a film and said, this is something I want to do, and this is something I can do, and something I want to give my life to.
You mean film in general, or just like?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's anything I saw. That might have happened, but I remember like when I had to figure out what to study in college. I was just like, I want to learn how to, because I didn't know. I did sketch comedy with my friends, and I realized that like through what they would say, and I just came to terms with the fact that I was the only one who was like kind of serious about it. And I was like pretty strict, and we were all just fooling around. But I was like, it should be like this or whatever. And then I was like, I should probably learn how to actually shoot and what it means, because we were in editing. We were like, I was such an idiot. Like we were doing in-camera edits, but way before that, it was like, which is kind of interesting. Way before that, it was like one-take things of just like our goofy sense of humor stuff. Which is interesting, seeing what I'm making now, like one take.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was just like sketch comedy stuff, and then I was like, yeah, I am pretty annoying and serious to my friends about this, so why don't I, actually learn to do like how to do it. So that's when I decided to make films, and then go to film school and become in debt massively, and yeah.
But that's interesting. So, it doesn't seem, looking at your film, that I don't see that as somebody who is deeply invested in sketch comedy. So it's like, have you left that in your past, or as you get your new projects coming in that you might want to sort of touch back to that, or maybe just do that as a side business, like do some comedy because making films is so profitable?
Yeah. I had like a sketch comedy thing in college for like a year, and then another friend of mine, we tried to do it. It's just, to me, it's like, it's the same amount of work if I were to do like a short film or a feature, and I just don't get as much out of it. And it's the same thing with like, on a different topic, just say like music videos. Like a lot of my friends do music videos and stuff, and I don't watch music videos. I don't particularly like them, and I don't want to just do it just to do it. Like that would be insufferable to me. But I don't know. Like the longer cut of Winds was like had some funny, weird humor in it, and I didn't cut it out to make it more somber and serious. I cut it out because there were other things that didn't work. So there's, and moving forward, there's going to be more humor. Not exactly like sketch stuff, but it'll have a weird sense of humor. I don't know if people think I'm funny, so like I'm probably not funny. So I'm gonna bother people.
I haven't heard you like telling jokes or trying to anyway. I don't know, but
I have a couple good knock ones, but I don't know. They're written down somewhere. I kind of forgot it.
That's okay.
That's my joke. That's my one joke. So you laughed. It worked.
All right, works.
That's all I got.
Well, I think that's unless you have anything else you want to say, I think we've given people enough to sort of understand how great this film is and why they need to come and see it. I'm really happy that we're going to be able to show it, and I think that people will so much enjoy this film, and in a sense, it's like so different from what we're sort of being force-fed through Hollywood, yet it deals with how we sort of deal with the world and see other people, not just this one character, but forces us to think about our own deep-held prejudices that we either face or don't face, and understand like the other in a very powerful way.
Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you go. Anything else you want to tell us?
No, I guess that's it. I hope to see. I've never been to Texas, so I'm looking forward to coming down. And
well, looking forward to having you here and showing you around, and you won't get shot. It's like Texas is not how you think of it. You know,
Okay.
not everybody wears cowboy boots all the time. Not everybody has a truck. I don't own a truck.
Okay.
But you'll have a good time, and I'm sure everybody who's seen this will want to come out and meet you and buy you a drink and have a good time.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm good.
So we'll see you real soon.
Yeah, totally. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.